I can hear the man with the bag playing upstairs. Better yet, I can feel it. It's coming through the walls, shaking them, rattling the cuckoo clock, and jittering all that Christmas crap my kids placed along the mantel. Hell, now I'm jittering. Maybe I'm the one who's cuckoo. Oh, isn't that great, Dad? Isn't it so pretty? Don't you want to be festive? No, no, I don't. And I don't want. Cuckoo, cuckoo. 7 p.m. was my cue. They started the music a little early, but what's the big holdup if everyone's so excited? Oh boy, oh goody, it's me, Christmas. Everybody loves Christmas, right? Even Chuck, the old Scrooge. Can't turn us down again, can he? Who cares if he's doped up than a hooker at a bachelorette party? Pretty soon they'll come and try to drag me up there. But I'm not going, despite what Dr. Winfrey said. Said it would help me. Yeah, like that would Fox fireplace, Doc? Really doing the trick. I could feel the trauma draining through the floorboards. Give me a break. Exposure therapy is just about as useful as a one-leg tightrope walker. Sure, if you're standing still. Still, it's not so bad, but you go ahead. Try to move. That's what I've been trying to do for the last 2 hours. Trying to move. The closest I've gotten was drowning that beer my son left in the fridge on Thanksgiving. Thankful it was still there. Gave me the liquid courage to try and put some pants on. I got one leg in before I feel that cheap thread fabric between my fingers started up again. I shook them off, and if the pants were that bad, could you imagine the boots, the belt, the beard? Hell no. Everybody was waiting for the man with the bag. Shut up, K-Star. You and all those other pricks trying to get me up the... Come on, you can say it, Chuck. I know I can say it, Doc. Then do it. The Cone Monospace 300DX hydraulic elevator. See, that wasn't so bad. You rode it once before, didn't ya? No, I used the stairs. Well, you can walk by it every day, I assume. Yeah. Well, see, now that's exposure. That's progress, Charles. Pretty soon you'll be able to press the button. I am not pressing the button. But suppose you did. What would be the harm of it? You're a rational man, Chuck. It's the same brand as, well, you know. Makes some sense, too. I read the articles. Through 300 wasn't around the 90s. But it's hydraulic. It's hydraulic and safe, Charles. I visited Golden Gardens. The place is in tip-top shape. I rode the elevator all the way up to the top floor and back. It's even got an inspection certificate and it passed just a few weeks ago. The one at the mall had the stupid little diploma too. And it would have been operated completely normal if not for the... I know. There was an electrical fire in the food court and they shut off the power to extinguish it. But at the same time it shut off the elevators. Instead of returning to the ground, they shut down and got stuck between the second and third floors because the hydraulics weren't backed up into a secondary battery because of a stupid international building code wasn't published until 1997, and it happened in 1992. Yes, I know the elevator is not going to eat me. I know wearing a stupid Santa suit isn't going to kill me, but that's why they're called fucking phobias. They don't make goddamn sense. That's why I'm coming to you. But you just keep telling me all the same shit I've been hearing for the past 30 fucking years, Doc. Oh great, they're playing Santa Claus is coming to town. No, he fucking ain't. But you know the folks would love it, and who better to play Santa than Butler County's finest? I am not Butler County's finest. Humor me, Chuck. What's the worst that could happen? Seriously. Oh, let me tell you. The worst will happen to you is when you expect it. Fortunately now I do. But back then I was naive. I was young. Murphy's Law was a little more than Murphy's suggestion, and everything always had to happen for a reason. I suppose it does, come to think of it, but what I misunderstood when it was all those so-called reasons were buck meaningless. They often trivial things. Hell, we got penicillin cause some moron to let mold grow while he was on vacation, and the Archduke, whatever his name was, driver, not made a wrong turn. We never had a World War I, but we did. And we had the penicillin. And we have God knows how much stupid other shit happened because somebody forgot to turn the stove off. Or in my case, take the pot off the burner. I don't blame Eddie Newton, the kid who forgot the pot, because I know it's just one cog in the far bigger machine, no more sacred than the Archduke's driver. Hell, if there isn't even one I blame, it's the stupid people who ordered the mall-made Chinese food 2 weeks before Christmas that ought to be cardinal sin, as should be given an elevator whose sensors clearly don't work a pass on its annual inspection. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to December 1992. There was a big old nor'easter that was hitting, well, the northeast, and it caused so much stir that instead of flying for the winter, all the birds from New York and some poor smucks from Jersey flew over to Pennsylvania, and while most of them stuck it out in the east, mostly around Philly, a couple of thousand more like it, found their way to Butler County, and by extension, the Country Square Mall, owned and operated by the Simpson and Holding Company, which is not to be confused with the Simon Property Group, another real estate firm that still owns quite a few malls to this day. I know all of this because unlike the Santa you might see at Macy's, and if you haven't, I suggest you watch Miracle on 34th Street. I was hired by the mall itself to play the jolly old fat man. Apparently, according to the Macy's holiday coordinator, whatever the hell that means, I didn't have the right gusto for the position. When I got clarified that I meant I wasn't getting the job because I didn't have a beard or a beer belly, the lady told me it was because I didn't have the jolly spirit Macy's was looking for. Again, whatever the hell that means. The Simpson Holding Company, on the other hand, welcomed me with the semi-open arms, the ones that crossed during the whole ordeal, being whose Marcus Nailstorm, the mall's manager. Marcus was always a prissy little man, tightly wound like a jack-in-the-box to the point where everyone knew at any moment he might pop up, but it was hard to tell him, mostly because the man did his damn best poker face I have ever seen. Surely if Marcus Nailstorm ever doubled Texas Hold'em, he'd be even a millionaire. Unfortunately for him, though, he used his great gift as nothing more than a customer service facade on behalf of Simpson Holdings, and I follow suit. Even, however, despite the thick white beard they give me, which I can still taste to this day, I don't know if I fooled half the kids that sat on my lap, not by country mile compared to the way Marcus Nailstorm could fool the parents. Kids are a prospective bunch, you see. Most folks don't give them enough credit, but now I do. I do now. Take for instance this little fat kid who almost broke my femur, which I've since heard that it would have been one of the worst fits of human pain can feel, even worse than childbirth. This kid was close a second, without even the bone fracture. He plops on my leg, and I try my damnedest not to holler as he turns to me. I know he can, with my eyes up and watering up behind the glasses, but he didn't seem to care, at least not at first. "What's your name, young man?" For the life of me, I can't remember what it was. I think it was Tommy, Tony, Terry. Your guess is as good as mine. "And have you been a good boy this year?" At this point, I took over the fatty's mom, and she nods me feverishly as if her kid did not use his words. "Are you the real Santa?" Luckily, Simpson Holdings, aka good old Marcus Nailstorm, had given me a crash course in Santa PR to cover country square ass. The question, among many, was one he told me always comes up. "Well, the real Santa's making all the toys up at the North Pole as we speak, young man. I am one of his helpers, but I still got a bit of his magic." The kid nods as if he expected as much. That's what the one at Macy's said too. I'm sure the guy's not the one from the same script kid, I thought. Well, Santa does have a lot of helpers, you know. I want a Super Nintendo. That's a popular one. I'll put a good word and see what the elves can whip up. Are the elves gonna make it? I chuckle. Why, who else? Nintendo. I told you their perspective. Well, the elves work with Nintendo. I thought Nintendo was in Japan. It is. Well, that ain't the North Pole. With a Santa gig, you've got to be quick on your feet. We send an elf to Japan every year to get the latest Nintendo updates for all the toys. Again, the kid nods, and thinking I'm out of the woods. You said you have magic? Of course I do. Then why do you need glasses? To see your shoes, 'cause I know you can't, you little twerp. I use my magic for the good of children, not for myself. Saving me from another physiological debate, Richard, the camera guy, asks the kid to look at the lens and smile. He snaps a shot and calls next. Merry Christmas, young man. The kid waves and takes a candy cane and waddles over to his mom. This process is then rinsed and repeated until the sun goes down, especially when your mall is filled with a bunch of people blown away by nor'easter. I should just point all of this out, that the whole Santa thing with the camera and the peppermint sticks and the big golden chair all occurred on the second floor, with the escalators on either side and elevators just behind the display. This arrangement gave the Santas easy access to the break room, which was also on the third floor just off the elevator. It was only a matter of putting it up the velvet rope that carried the Santa will be right back sign on it and moseying behind the seat. From there, it was a straight shot up at the elevator and then out and to the left. The break room was nothing fancy. In fact, this will tell you how bare bones were in place. When we got our first microwave, which was on the old sharp ones with the wind-up dials, not even buttons. Well, we lost all of our minds, and this and a coffee maker? Since when was the Queen of England visiting Butler County? Roll out the French silk creamer, and why don't ya? Simpson Holdings, aka Marcus Nailstorm, spared no expense, except when it was at the actual expense of Simpson Holdings, or Marcus Nailstorm. If a stupid microwave oven shuts us up for another holiday season, it was a lot easier to drive down to Kmart than to give us all a time and a half. Whatever else Simpson Holdings or Marcus Nailstorm felt, the hard-earned dollar for the Country Square Mall ought to be spent on other than the $95 microwave on a blue light special remains a mystery to me. With a notable exception. I know damn well it wasn't spent on any of the elevators, but hey, piping hot pockets were nice, especially on days that dipped off below 50. Shifty would know. Shifty, whose real name is something like George Scott, and who looked a hell of a lot like the actor from Namesake, was one of those Country Square finest security guards, at least so we can all thought. He had those shifty eyes, which is probably why he made good security guard, and half the reason why he got the nickname. The other being said that he was always on the shift. I swear that poor guy must have been working 60 hours a week, which has probably made him the richest poor bastard in the place. Talk about the oxymoron. It also made him eat a lot of hot pockets. I could see him in my mind's eye, sitting on that corner of the booth of the break room, munching on steaming meat pastry, while Nat King Cole's Christmas song played carelessly through the speaker system. Every now and again he looked up at me and mild chew, and then went back down at his lunch. I suppose the sight of sweaty minimum wage worker in a Santa suit probably wasn't the best appetizing sight to see. Oh, but on occasion he grinned and bare it. Mostly talk niceties like the weather or last night's Penn State game. One day in particular, however, his tune was different. Nailstorm talked to you? I looked up from my ham sandwich and noticed that Shifty was staring at me blankly over his daily hot pocket. Steam rose from within. Did he? No, he didn't. Shifty nodded, and then returned to his lunch without another word. Why? Did he have one of these talks with you? Shifty nodded, and gave him an affirmative through his closed lips as he chewed. What about? As if Shifty had been teeing up this shot, Marcus swiftly entered the break room holding a clipboard and springing over to me. In his stride, he turned his head hastily and nodded shifty before fixing his attention back to me. How's it going out there, Mr. Nelstorm? Hello, Charles. I have something I need to discuss with you. The floor is yours, I said, and I took another bite out of my sandwich. Do you know anything about the Super Soakers or the Super Nintendo? I know they're both super. Marcus makes a not-so-amused look. Very funny, Charles. Let's be serious now. Well, I know both of them are kind of sold at KB. Anything else about the ones at KB or the ones in the Santa sack? The ones that we put out for display? Is that what it was? A display? It was KB's idea, actually. A way for us Santas to push the hottest new toys. Simpson Holdings sure liked the idea. More people that come to the mall for their toys will come to the mall. Makes sense to me. What about them? They're missing. What? The ones from the bag? Mm-hmm. Both Super Soakers and the Nintendo, George. They're said he hasn't seen anyone touch the bag, but I then thought that maybe one of our Santas felt bad for one of the kiddos might have given them away? Precisely. Wasn't me. I'm not the one for handouts. Did you ask Ampersand? Funny, Ampersand said to ask you. Of course he did. Not that no other than the few kids begging for their mamas to get the other. I never touched the stupid bag. I thought it was some kind of bag donation thing. It isn't, and like you, Simpson Holdings isn't the business for handouts. I hope you would report anything you might see that is suspicious. Of course, I nodded, and returned to my sandwich. Marcus returned my gesture and began to leave the break room. At the door, he turned back over to me over his shoulder. Oh, and we're going to need you down here in 5. There is a line building up. Mouthful, I noticed once more, and Marcus left the room. And that's what it was all about, Shifty said, and I turned to him and noticed that he had no more Hot Pockets left. With a silent nod, he rose from the booth and caught the door before it swung it, leaving me alone with the Christmas waltz, blaring a little too loudly in my ears. Maybe it was because the break room was so crammed and reverberating. That didn't stop me from eating the rest of my sandwich, of course. When I finished up, I scooted from the booth and grabbed the beard and I had set beside me on the table and tugged it over my head. It smelled like ham, big surprise, and it was still damp from my sweat. As I pushed open the door and turned towards the elevators, I began to hear a sort of commotion coming from somewhere downstairs. The kind I also often hear when there was a fight. Something went on sale, or when there was a fight because something went on sale. Black Friday comes to mind. I'm sure it was many Black Fridays that made me desensitized to such a sound. Hindsight is always 20/20, as they saw, but what they didn't tell you is that hindsight farsighted. After that fact, you always can look back at the past in that kind of blur, but it's been 30 years for me now, and in many ways 30 years ago couldn't be any clearer. I expected to hop into the elevator and take it down, only to find Marcus and Nelstorm waiting on the other side of the sliding door with some kind of news about there being a brawl over the troll dolls or on one, or that somebody had yacked on the escalator. I expected that maybe in a little bit of clipperboard on this mat Marcus had somewhat changed schedule, and kindly asked Ampersand to relieve me. At the very least, I expected the goddamn elevator to bring me up to 12 feet down to the second floor. But like I said, the worst happened when you least expected. And so it did. I pressed 2, and then it watched the sliding door shut, as it had a million times before. The elevator had a slow start, but eventually began its descent. I remember there was always a little slight stomach-dropping feeling you just get, like you would drop in an tower ride at a carnival. Isn't that much, but slight, and I felt it. The next thing I know, I was at the weightless feeling stopping. It was like someone had turned on the gravity on moon, or had slammed the brakes on a vertically oriented car. It nearly sent me to my knees, but I was young. I caught myself against a wall. There were no handrails as some kind of elevators have. In fact, the entire thing was pretty plain. All the walls were silvery metallic door color, almost as too shiny that you could see a reflection in them. There was an overhead fluorescent light speaker at the time playing God knows what because I was there in a slight panic, and over the panel beside the sliding door was a row of free buttons for each floor, an emergency stop as I needed it, one to open the door, one to close it, and one for the local fire department, which was red, and a bell. There was also the vacant LCD displayed now power off, where the floor number would have been, and the ever so ironic certificate of the inspection displayed proudly on the panel, whose very presence was there to continue to mock me to this day. The whole thing was about 5 feet long and 3 feet wide, or 3 feet long and 5 feet wide, depending on where you stood in it. I know because I placed the fucking thing for hours, measured it with my feet. It was small, crammed little thing. Worse than the break room, that's for damn sure. Much worse. There are a lot of things we do that go beneath the surface subconsciously, and it's a type of autopilot that you only realized you had switched on when you switched it off. Ever pull up to a red light and wonder how you got there? Scary, isn't it? Dr. Winfrey calls it automatically. Says it's a way for the body to keep itself in homeostasis, whatever that means. Hoping that the elevator every day will become so routine that sometimes I forgot I even written in it. I took it up to the break room once at the beginning of my shift to grab my suit, and then go back down to and work for a few hours, then go back up for lunch, back down to work, back up to drop the suit off, and back down on my way out for the day. Sometimes this process would even get repeated if I do more breaks during heavier volume days like the weekend. That's why when the elevator stopped midway between 2 and 3, autopilot snapped off and the realization that I was in the elevator snapped on. Suddenly, and despite the rail of my sweat from my neck to my ass crack and from my forehead to my belly button, a chill shot through my spine and I stood erect as one of those toy soldiers do the attention. Something was wrong. There was a pretty loud song playing through the speaker system into the elevator, but I don't remember what it was. Some kind of fishing through the crappy brown parts of your cereal to get to your marshmallows. I had listened through the holiday jingle, somehow in order to hear the commotion beneath my feet. Didn't Dr. Seuss in The Grinch write something like that? It started in a low, then it started to grow. What is it like? Kind of swelling sound? Low at first and then gradually rising in both volume and intensity. It was screaming. Mostly women, but some men and children too. Back then there weren't any scares as of today. There was even no mall shooters, no terrorists, that we know of anyway. But that didn't mean there weren't. Fire! That's what I heard, one voice cut through the commotion in my holler. And then it all made sense. The screaming was because there was a fire, maybe on 2, but probably on the one floor in the food court, and the elevator had shut off because there was a fire beneath me, and I was trapped in the elevator. To say I panicked for one way out could put it. Another word would be, help, help, oh God, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, H. Christmas, get me the hell out of here, goddammit. I'm stuck in here. I'm in the elevator. I think I pounded that silvery door with my bare palms until they turned red. Then they pressed every button and rang that bell enough times to put Quasimodo to shame. Nobody heard of me, of course. Not only the fire alarm gone off, but there was even more high-pitched screaming than the boy band concert, and more kids crying than the line to meet, while me dressed in like Kris Kringle, all white. That stupid Christmas music didn't stop either. Had to just insult to injury. And if I wasn't insulted enough, something I had seen while clenching my eyes shut, mind-pounding, something that had subconsciously registered my brain as I walked by it to the elevator returned to me the sign, in case of fire, use stairs. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, but what do you do if you're already in an elevator when the fire starts, huh? What then? The icing on the cake was the fact that if someone could hear me out there, over the screaming and the crying of the Bing fucking Crosby, what could have been done even about it? I was halfway between the floors and a metal sealed box shut. A flush of relief was washed over me when I heard sirens. Oh, thank God, the fire department, I thought. Thank God, thank baby Jesus. I was about to thank the shepherds when the wise men too, when that flush of relief went down the drain. How long was it going to take until they know I'm up here? What if they can't put out the fire? What if they can put it out but sends everybody home before they even bothered for to check on? Oh, shut up. Everything will be fine. They're going to put the stupid fire out and the elevator will return to the ground floor. That's how they make these things, right? Yeah, but this thing was working correctly. It wouldn't be on the ground floor now? Hey, at least it didn't fall. And that was a very good point. I didn't fall. In fact, I then remembered something Marcus Nelstorm had told me during my first week. This hydraulic elevator. Oh, so there's no cables. Some, but most of them lift happens because the pressurized oil in the hydraulic system. Well, at least nothing can snap and send this puppy flying, unless the oil pressured oil bursts. Oh, then in that case, it would, well, as you said, Charles, send this puppy flying straight down to one, in fact. Shit, why did I have to be reminded of that part? The chance of that happening is slim pickings, though actually, from what I know, elevator accidents are quite rare, except for those people that get crushed when they fall halfway off, or fall 70 feet, or get decapitated. Rare, but not possible. I doubt I'd be an exception, though. Isn't that all what those people say? What people? The ones that become statistics. When I noticed that I was talking to my own reflection in the metal wall, it felt like a slap in the face and a splash of cold water. It was sobering, really, before the laughter started. Get a grip, man. It's only been 5 minutes. But it had it, though? Sure, it felt like 5 minutes, but they say time flies when you're having fun. It also flies in a time of crisis, and believe me, this was certainly one of those. I no longer heard the screaming by this point. What did I hear was much worse. The music. I had never gone away in the first place, but now I was just paying attention. I think at this point it was Perry Como's Frosty the Snowman playing a little too loudly. How is it playing at all, I thought. They wouldn't have shut it off the power by now? Or would it already be off if I'm stuck up there? That thought concerned me. I looked up at the tiny speaker and squinted, noticing how the fluorescent light was no longer shining, replaced by a dim emergency light with a warm red-orange tint. The LCD display above the button panel, which hadn't been working since the elevator stopped, remained dark too, and again coldness surged through me. Surely the music's on a different power supply is all. I highly doubt that the ghosts of the Country Square Mall would take their precious time to play a disembodied recording of Christmas Baby Please Come Home just for me. God, I wish I was home. And come to think of it, there you could have actually bothered to stretch out at least. You could rest your head, knowing that you were on the solid ground and weren't suspended free flights above concrete and a fire. My palms were sweating at the thought of it, not to mention it was starting to get hot, or at least hotter than it was before. 5, 10, God knows how many minutes ago. There was even air conditioning in the elevators anyway. There has to be, 'cause clearly it ain't working. Either that or the thought of the fire unexpectedly growing just beneath my feet, licking to the bottom of the elevator with a long fiery tongue, caused me to jump a little before realizing that it wasn't such a good idea. Last thing I want to do is send this puppy flying. I am no expert, but if I had to imagine alongside breaking your femur or popping a kid out of your, falling through a burning alive wouldn't be far down the pain list, and falling and burning alive may very well be on top. Breathe, damn it. It's just a stupid elevator. I decided to pop a quad, slowly and carefully I might add, before rolling onto my back and staring up at the ceiling and the emergency light, and the speakers bleaching its endless supply of holiday horse pucky again. I couldn't help but laugh to myself given the situation. Oh, if those whales could talk, they would be laughing too. Or screaming, I chuckled. I swear if I die in here, dressed like Santa Claus, listening to Eartha Kitt. Forgot to mention one thing. A ring. I don't mean the phone. Santa, baby. So hurry down the chimney tonight. The chimney, that's it. That's what it is. I'm Santa Claus stuck in a bag old chimney, and if I don't get my ass out of here, I'm going to be smoked like a turkey. Oh, that's ridiculous. I don't even smell any smoke. I smelled smoke. I swear it. It was the thick of kind you might get a whiff if you were out camping or puffing a cigar. They didn't put out the fire, after all. It was still burning down there. It was rising. I could smell it, roasting the one intoxicating aroma of perfumes and colognes that always seemed to linger in big malls. To this day, because of that very smell, I no longer smell smoke. In fact, I can't so much as sit near fire or damn well look at it. The heat against my skin covers me in goose flesh and sends me straight back to the elevator, back to 1992, as if that place is long, long gone, and I'm still trapped in here, up there. Smoke only rises when something burns. I started to figure, so what's on fire? Well, according to the heat rising through the floor and through the cheap red fabric clutching my back, I'd say it was about to be me. Quickly, I scrambled up to my feet and began slamming this shiny metal door with my fists, in an attempt to pry it open with every ounce of strength I could muster, and repeated this process over and over again until I couldn't move anymore, and until I was either laughing manically to myself or screaming at the top of my lungs. For good God's sake, I'm still up here. Please, somebody, I don't want to die here. Eventually my voice and my breath gave out, and I nearly collapsed back to the ground. For the love of God, don't pass out, I told myself. That floor is not a sin, and I could feel it through my boots. Hell, if I was even in there for 10 more minutes, they might have melted straight onto the soles of my feet, and that's if my internal organs didn't cook the meantime. Is this how those poor bastards felt in the brazen skull? Like a hot pocket? Yeah, that's it. I'm no better off. Hell, I bet the microwave's more spacious. Hell, I bet that sharp corporation couldn't fart out me like this blasted elevator did. Hell, that's it. The elevator's going straight down to the fire and brimstone. Forget the chimney. Forget the hearth. We're going straight for the inferno. That's where we're going. Down. I felt that stomach-dropping feeling in full force. I was plummeting straight down. Is the elevator working again, or am I falling? I thought. I'm falling, I thought. And then I checked the LCD. 2, 1, 0. There isn't a floor 0. -1, -2, -3. Okay, I see what's going on here. I've fallen asleep. Very funny. Very cute. But it's time for me to wake up now. Come on, Chuck. Wake up. Wake up. I began slapping myself as if the elevator beneath me, around me, continued to descend. Without warning, without so much as a flicker. The emergency light overhead snapped off and I was left in complete darkness. In an abyss all the while, the music grew increasingly louder and the box grew increasingly hotter. If I elbowed a wall, I jumped back like a jackrabbit and swore like a sailor. Is this thing getting smaller? I swear it feels like the walls are closing in. Oh, get a grip, man. It's just a claustrophobia. Well, I'm surprised more people don't have it here, considering how ass-to-ass all these stupid stores are. 23, 24, 25. Slapping didn't work. I reached out, poking the sizzling metal wall a few times. Tried ringing the bell button. Ding, ding, ding. 57, 58. Nothing. Ding, 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 jingle all the way. Oh, what the fucking luck I have to open the goddamn door. Open it! 111 and 112. Maybe I'll just do what Scrooge said. Maybe I'll wake up in my bedchamber in my nightgown. That's it. I know what he'd say to get out of there. Oh yeah, I will honor Christmas with my heart and try to keep it all the year. There, I said it. Is that all you wanted to hear? Huh, is that it? 356, 357? Bullshit. That's some bull. There aren't any negative 350-second floors to this godforsaken place. There were free. There's 3 stupid floors. And I'm stuck between 2 of them. Crawling, lying on the floor on my back and drooling like a baby. 498? 499? Okay, fine, I did it there. Are you happy? I took the stupid stupid Super Soakers and the Super Nintendo, alright? I'm a horrible Santa, alright? You think Simpson Holdings pays me enough to give my son a good Christmas? Do ya? Well, it doesn't. This mall gives me jack shit. At this point, the elevator started to slow down, as it felt like tears streaming down my face were evaporating off my skin either due to the heat or the sheer force of gravity. 5, 6, 5, 7, 6, 5, 8. Oh God, no, this isn't real. This isn't one of those indigestive bits of beef. It's one of those blots of mustard, isn't it? More gravy than grave. This elevator isn't moving. 664, 665. I'll give those stupid presents back, I shouted, going to smack the wall, but stopping it, the heat from emanating off of it, it smacked right back across the cheek. I'm sorry, okay? I'm a bad Santa Claus. I'm a bad... Suddenly the elevator jerked to a stop, and I fell to my knees. The floor beneath me stung me like a wasp, even through the red pants. I sprang up to my eyes and naturally darted over to the LCD, or at least the area where it was before. It was all blank, and all about me was nothing but utter darkness. Am I dead, I thought? I guess not. Still shaking, aren't I? How does that song go? Santa Claus got stuck in my chimney. Stuck in my chimney? That's it. I'm stuck. I'm not dead, I'm just... Then I saw the bright light to second-guess myself, until, at least, it started talking. Charles? Good Lord, Charles! In an instant, it was like every switch had flipped back on. Suddenly, I could see, hear, feel, and even smell again. The scent of the smoke was nearly gone, and its place was the familiar tinge of cheap bodily sprays that left their taste on your tongue. I could now feel my own body too, and the floor beneath my feet. It wasn't hot anymore. In fact, the air was now frigidly cold, punctured by the hum of the winter wonderland, and its usual volume and pitch. Maybe it was so cold because I was soaking wet. What is this? Sweat? And what's that? Marcus? The light before me began to shrink wrap around the window shadows, observing it. Finally, I could make out the three figures looking back at me. The ghosts? I thought, well, if Marcus Nelstorm's a ghost, then sure. Charles? Marcus said, his face still not defined yet. Put this on. I outstretched my hands and immediately felt the softness of the woolen blanket being forced down to them. Now I could see the man who handed it to me. It was a firefighter. Now cover yourself up, geez, what's that smell? The firefighter said, clearing his throat. Urine. Oh, he pissed himself? Is that what it was? I could smell it too. It was piss. Is that what it was? I thought, feeling of wetness soaked through the blanket. Then I could feel the wool touching my bare skin. In a second I poked my brain. Am I naked? Yes, I was. The wet Santa suit on the floor confirmed it. Well, but what happened? Where am I? There was a small fire in the Chinese restaurant's kitchen in the food court. You're in the elevator on floor level 1. And the fire's out? It's been out, Charles, but we have to make sure the coast is clear before turning the power back on. We apologize it took as long as it did. Yeah, no shit, how many hours does it take to shut the power on? Marcus' face grew into a before turning the firefighters in the back of me. Charles, it's about 20 minutes. These men were incredibly efficient. 20 minutes? I croaked. More like 20 hours. Hell, I'm probably tied with that guy from New York. Charles, I just saw you're not 20 minutes ago. Remember, I needed you on down 2 and 5, and that was 11:55. It's 12:14. That's impossible, I said. I must have heard Santa Baby 20 times, and that sounds at least 3 minutes. Sir, maybe it's best we get you out of here and we can discuss this later. The other firefighter said, and I agreed. In fact, I've agreed for the last 30 years I've discussed it. No one's bothered to listen. Not even Dr. Winfrey. I knew Marcus Nelstorm would have from the very moment his shifty eyes, even shiftier than Shifty's, looked at those firefighters the way he did. I knew the firefighters would have from the way they looked back. Hell, it wasn't even a shock to my system when Jay Leno got to the Tonight Show and riffed about me in his opening monologue in a week or so after it happened. Did you hear about this guy? This small Santa in Pennsylvania got himself stuck in the elevator? I guess that's one way to get your kids into the mall. Hey kids, if you want to see Santa this year, you're gonna have to go down to Country Square and shut up the elevator shaft. Suffice to say, Simpson Holdings didn't like that one public on television. They also didn't like a couple Super Soakers and Super Nintendo Marcus Nailstorms confiscated from my car. All I had to say, I was promptly fired. And I still imagine you harbor some resentment against them for that, don't you, Chuck? Wow, you really dig deep, Doc. I'm just saying, Charles, it sounds like you were rattled by this whole thing all these years later. I am, and I imagine deep down you still might be holding some of that guilt you felt after stealing those toys. They got them back. They didn't press charges. Guess I can't complain when my punishment was getting out of dump. But it's almost sounds like your real punishment is what happened in that elevator. It was. I hope you don't sincerely believe that. You had nothing to do with the faulty elevator and kitchen fire, Chuck. It was all just an illusion, casualty. Illusion of what? Casualty. It means you're wrongly assuming that each of these very distant and very separate events that had anything to do with one another. Actually, they only had one thing to do with. And what's that? That I was Santa. And because you were Santa, were you? What? Held on to some higher standard? I suppose, really. I suppose it's like God. God? That if you wore his name in vain, tarnished likeness, there would be judgment. Just like if you were a bad priest or a bad nun or something. I was a bad Santa. I am a bad Santa, and I've got to get this costume off before it's... Mr. Freed? Mr. Freed? Charles? You in there? Just stay quiet. Maybe they'll think I fall asleep. That wouldn't be any new to them. Mr. Freed, we're all waiting for you upstairs, Mr. Claus. Yeah, I bet you're waiting for me. You've been waiting for me, haven't you? Chuck, are you trying to tell me that you're going to face some kind of judgment dressing up like Santa at the mall 30 years ago? No, not going to face judgment, Doc. I already am. I have ever been since I stepped foot in that elevator. But that elevator's gone, Chuck. The whole stinking mall's gone. Bulldozed. You got out. Got off. That's what scares me. What does? Which floor I got off on. Mr. Freed, Charles, sir, we're going to open the door if you don't. You open the door, and I'll jump. You hear me? I wouldn't be the first time I've fallen. Charles, that window is sealed shut. I watch the knob jitter and listen, while the white coat on the other side thuds against it with his shoulder. My bookshelf holds its own. Did they really think I was gonna read all those books? Did you, Charles, block the door? Nurse, call in Dr. Winfrey. I already talked to Dr. Winfrey. And what did he tell you, Mr. Freed? Charles, Golden Gardens is a wonderful place. I have referred them many times to my clients. Doesn't it matter where you send me, Doc? It's always on the same floor in the same place. And where's that, Chuck? Back in the mall? No, in hell. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video. And I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.